Let us take a moment to still our hearts, quiet our minds, and center ourselves. Unfortunately, right here in my notes it says, put your opening words here. Oops. So today I'm going to improvise my opening words and say, oh, if you could, yeah, that'd be a good idea. First, just welcome all of you to our house of worship. And which ones are, Mary, what did you give me? Oh my, I need some opening words here. Okay. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe and to this community and to each other. Thank you. Wow. Not bad, actually. Okay. All right. Lori, hi. Would you like to light a chalice today? So grab a candle. Beautiful. Just like a pro. And then could you put the lid on that? No, put the other way around. Thank you. Thank you. We gather this hour as people of faith and joys and sorrows, gifts and needs, and we light this beacon as a hope, as a sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Before we sing our first hymn, let me remind our remote participants to leave yourselves muted. However, we want you and whoever's with you to sing with us as big and loud as you like. And that goes for all of you too. Make it a joyous experience. Please stand in body or spirit and sing the opening hymn, Make Channels for the Streams, number 299.
Make channels for the streams of love where they may broadly run, and love has overflowing streams to fill them everyone. But if at any time we cease to touch channels to provide, the very fountains of love for us will soon be parched and dry. For we must share if we would keep this gift all else above. We cease to give, we cease to have, such is the law of love.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria. We are glad that you've joined us today, and I wish to take a moment to share an interesting statistic. Of the 574 federally recognized tribes, 229 are found in Alaska. California has the second highest number of federally recognized tribes with 109, as well as the largest indigenous population of any state. Think about that. We have the most indigenous people here. So our UUCC sanctuary sits on land that the Salinan and Chumash indigenous peoples historically inhabited. and we honor their contribution to this region and give thanks to the opportunity to gather in faith on their unceded territory. Let us respect their legacy and protect their history as we occupy this sacred space. As Unitarian Universalists, we celebrate religious diversity and welcome all who journey in search of faith and spirituality. The UUCC is a lay-led congregation run by the democratic process. We invite speakers from different religious traditions and spiritual or scientific backgrounds, as well as community leaders to speak at our pulpit. We encourage presentations covering a variety of topics and areas of interest that connect with the UU 7 principles and 6 values: equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, justice, and interdependence, with love at the center. Today's service centers around the first principle: we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. My name is Randy Schwalbe, and I am your worship associate for this morning's service. I would like to extend a special welcome to today's guests and visitors. We're glad you've joined us this morning, and if you wish, please raise your hand to introduce yourself or your guest. Hi.
Hi. I'm Lydia Whistler, Judy Butler's daughter, visiting from Texas. So thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. Okay, great to see you. We've heard about you. Yeah, all good things. Okay. Please visit the UUCC website at uuccambria.org so that we can keep you informed about all of our activities. Members and friends, please check out what's happening. The e-blast sent to you every week by Lori. And this is a great way to keep up to date with our latest news. And recordings of this or any of the past Zoom services can be found on the UUCC website and on Facebook. So again, good morning to and welcome to everyone. Okay. The affirmation is both a recognition of the nature of this community as well as a promise to which we aspire. Let us now recite the UUCC affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to draw together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. Okay, we set aside this time for brief announcements that will be of interest to our community and friends. Please be succinct when announcing upcoming events or updates. If you have an announcement, please raise your hand. When Julia or I call on you, come up to the podium or unmute yourself and then speak. Okay.
Thank you. Next Saturday, the 16th, is the potluck, and it's at our house. Ted and I will be hosting. We hope you will come. I don't even care if you bring food. I would just love to see you there. We're starting around 5 o'clock. You know, we're over on Dorset, and we would just love to see you.
Well, once again, I want to remind everybody that elections are coming up pretty soon. So right now we're in this period of self-nomination, and remember, we're looking for president and we're looking for members at large. So if you don't want me or Rebecca threatening you, start volunteering. I hope that's good.
Oh, Andy.
So in the spirit of the opening words, we have a TED Talk meeting this Wednesday. That's when many of us gather on Zoom from our homes, watch a TED Talk that pertains to our UU lives, and then discuss it. Again, those discussions have been very valuable and rewarding. The bad news is I haven't chosen the TED Talk yet, but it'll be great, I promise, right? They always are for those of us who do it. It starts at 4 o'clock on Wednesday on Zoom, lasts for an hour and 15 minutes, give or take a minute. and we have a delightful time. I will be sending the official notification out in the newsletter and by an e-blast so that you know what the topic will be. No homework required. We all listen to it together and then have our discussion. That's Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
Okay. Yes, Steve.
Today's Margaret's birthday.
Oh, what?
She probably doesn't want me to say it.
No,
so
no,
Please
we're-
don't tell her where you heard it.
Okay, I'm up here feeling a little bit, how should I say, anxious, because in 12 days, Julia, next slide. Yeah, this is coming up. So Follies are coming up, opening a week from this Friday, and runs for 2 weekends. So please, you can get your tickets at the Chamber or at the Farmers Market or at the Lions Club website, and or at the door. So they're easy to get. Okay, so the Follies, hope to see all of you there at some point or another. So just come when you can. Okay, next. Oh, Julia, any folks from?
No announcements on Zoom. Back to you.
So next week, where am I here? Next week, Dolores Mira will continue her series, Our UU Values, and she'll be discussing pluralism. Now to take care of some unfinished business. Wayne, if you would.
Well, the cat is out of the bag. Happy, happy birthday to Margaret, our most senior member. At least I'm on my way. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Margaret. Happy birthday to you.
How do you like them apples? Okay, so anyway, now the celebration's over, back to serious business. Here we go. All right, joys and concerns is a time for sharing. And if you wish, you may come forward and briefly express your personal celebration, sorrow, reflection, or gratitude. The collective flames of these candles embody all the joys and concerns which may have gone unspoken today, but are also deeply felt in this community. The first reading is an excerpt from Dying to Love by Sophie Killingly. There's a lot in the press right now about people not wanting to be a burden to family and friends. Of course, sickness, old age, and dying are so very scary, but also so very human. We take turns to hold each other. Let us join in a time of meditation, of prayer, and of silence. Let us seek the quiet and the calm, laying aside our struggles. And in the silence, may there be a reverence in our hearts, a thankfulness within our spirit, and a deepened understanding of the meaning of our lives. Let us enter the stillness. When love and compassion are present in us and we send them outward, then that is truly prayer. Further, in sending love outward, we may notice a change in our own heart. The second reading is also an excerpt from Dying to Love by Sophie Killingly. Back in the mists of time, 2019 BC, that's before COVID, one of my best and dearest friends had terminal cancer. I will never forget the night her husband rang me to say she'd had a stroke. Can I see her? I asked. She wasn't conscious, but if she made it through the night, I could go to her bedside. I spent the next weeks taking shifts with her husband, daughter, and closest friends, holding her hand as she gradually woke up. Her mom flew in from Argentina. Those days were some of the most precious in our friendship. She was mostly disabled down her right side now, but her humility and trust in our friendship was met with love, our love. As she let me gently brush her tangled chemo curly hair, as she allowed the vulnerability of not being able to sit or feed herself unaided, and in so doing, let me share the depths of my love and care and personal clumsiness. Because she let herself be a burden, taking her turn to be cared for, we spent those days in no doubt of our love and care for each other. We were both helpless. She couldn't move, and I couldn't stop her from dying. Nothing left unsaid. She finally left us 3 months later, and I'm so glad she let me partake in the sacred, ugly, cool face of love. Bearing one another's burdens. Miss you, Pilar. Please stand in body and our spirit and sing Thanks Be for These, number 322.
Thanks be for these life's holy times, moments of grief, days of delight, triumphant failures intertwine, shaping our vision of the right. Thanks be for these, for birth and death, life in between with meaningful, holy becomes a quickened breath. We celebrate life's interval. Thanks be for these ennobling art, images welcome to our sight, music caressing ear and heart, inviting us to loftier heights.
Today's talk is titled Waiting in the Garden by Scott Alexander, and to be read by Rebecca Hendricks. Rebecca.
As many of you know, I grew up in Minnesota. I'm quite proud of that. In fact, I still have 3 wonderful siblings living in either Minneapolis or St. Paul. Just this week, my younger sister shared that she is exploring a new step in her working life, becoming someone who supports people at special points in their life, near death, during illness or family challenges, in their own life changes, thinking about the legacy they want to leave behind, and many others. So this sermon is especially prescient and appropriate for this morning. And now the words of Reverend Scott W. Anderson. This morning, I want us to grapple with one of the most universal and troubling facts of human existence. Though every last one of us would have it otherwise, it is an unavoidable reality that during our lifetimes, people close to us will become sick, suffer great pain, and in some cases die. It seems crucial that we be unafraid here in this religious community in acknowledging the tragic dimension of life, for surely there is no one here in this room this morning who can reasonably expect to escape the agony of watching other human beings, for whom we love and care, go through pain and death. Ours is a profoundly mortal creation, and though we often live our lives as though it is otherwise, the truth is that to live is to suffer the vulnerabilities and vicissitudes of the flesh. So if we are to live out our years with wisdom, compassion, and health, it seems essential that we prepare ourselves psychologically and spiritually for those inevitable times when we will be asked to share life with those for whom life is painfully slipping away. Surely such times are among life's most difficult. One of the toughest things any one of us can face is the helplessness and anxiety we feel when we are obliged to watch someone dear to us suffer. It's almost worse, I think, than suffering the same infirmity yourself. I doubt that there is any human being alive who does not feel profound discomfort, anger, and angst watching a loved one endure disease, pain, or death. I have never met anyone who did not find dealing with human tragedy close at hand a heart-wrenching and disquieting thing. No matter how many times I have invited as a minister to share in the tragedies of others, I know and I pray that I shall never develop an immunity to the hurt my own heart feels when I must stand by and witness the suffering of others. No matter how wise or brave or worldly we might be, we all face a real crisis when life demands that we be near the suffering of others. When a family member, neighbor, or dear friend must battle disease, debilitation, or death, we never know quite how to handle ourselves. Even the most adept of us never quite know what to do, what to say, how to help. We tend to feel terribly awkward and inadequate. We quite naturally want so intensely to make it all better, to take away the pain or problem, to find a solution, to speed a recovery, engineer a miracle, even when such things are not possible. The greatest human tragedies occur, in my experience, not when the trouble strikes our loved one, but rather when our feelings of anxiety, helplessness, and discomfort with their pain cause us, unconsciously and unwittingly, of course, to flee the situation, to avoid the person or deny the reality of what is happening. If a decade in the ministry has taught me anything, it has taught me this. When illness and pain strike, the most important medicine is other persons, other ordinary human beings who stay close and caring no matter what. And I believe that if we spiritually challenge ourselves to think and feel about just how we can and should be with others in the midst of their tragedies, we can actually learn how to become much more helpfully human in such difficult times. For I believe with all my heart and soul, there is a way to be with hurting human beings that can make a real, positive, healing, and redeeming difference. And the curious thing is that this redemptive way is so close at hand that we often lose sight of it. The reading in the service that he gave this in was the familiar story of the Garden of Gethsemane, when Jesus, knowing in his heart that he faced almost certain death the next day at the hands of the Roman authorities, goes to that beautiful place to relieve some of his suffering and pain through prayer. His is a very private crisis of the soul. But the key to the story, it seems to me, is that he does not go to the garden alone. he asks 3 of his beloved friends, Peter, James, and John, to attend him. In the part of the story I find most significant, Jesus, troubled and tormented as he is, asks only one simple thing of his dear companions. Sit here while I pray, he implores. Remain here and watch. He doesn't ask them to spirit him away from danger, or wrestle with God for him, or offer him theological comfort, or suggest some political solution for dealing with Pilate, or even to go the next day to be crucified for him. He only asks that they stay awake, that they stand the night watch with him, remaining attentive to his pain and sorrow. And the story tells us how Peter and James and John sadly fail their friend Jesus, for they all fall asleep on him, not once, but 3 times. Out of their own fear or exhaustion or selfishness or indifference, we must suppose, they are unable to simply stay awake in his hour of deep need. And Jesus' pain is magnified many times by the aloneness he feels in the midst of his friends. By the shadow of negative example, this story speaks with powerful clarity as to just how we must strive to be with loved ones who are in profound personal pain. For, in fact, all that is usually requested and required of us, all that should be asked of us, is to stay awake when persons near us are swept into suffering. Our human job is to stand faithfully the night watch, not to fall asleep. Absolutely refuse to abandon the one who hurts. I have been in the garden. Have you? The night my father died 3 years ago was a night of my own Gethsemane of the heart. At 2:30 a.m., I was awakened with word of my beloved father's sudden death. And what saved me in that night of deep grief and pain was simply a friend, my best friend, in fact, who drove 10 miles to be with me. My friend got out of bed to stand the long night watch, to listen to my repetitious ramblings, to permit my tears, to hold me against the winter of my grief, to stay awake, by God, simply awake. It was mostly a silent vigil he stood, for in my hour of grief I did not particularly want the wisdom of centuries from my friend, nor any theological comfort he might have, nor nuggets of sage advice, nor even someone to take firm control. All I wanted was another human being to protect me from the cold, and to make sure that I was not alone in the empty caverns of my pain. If there is a purer or more redeeming kind of love, I don't know of it. Do you all know of what I speak? Haven't most of you had the experience of learning in some dark night of your own body and soul that it is the gentle, faithful presence of another ordinary human being which best answers, softens, and heals the pain? Yes, it is the simple yet divine grace of another person's caring presence which has the spectacular power to save us from our deepest suffering. And yet, there is something about this strikingly simple reality which we Americans distrust, isn't there? Somehow it feels inadequate. It seems as if it couldn't possibly be enough. We live in an impatient, fix-it society and have been indoctrinated since birth when, if we just bring the right technical and intellectual resources to bear, we can, when faced with a human problem, make everything right and put an end to all the unpleasantness. As a result, then, we are not naturally comfortable with the idea that just presence rather than product is what saves the situation. We find it hard to believe that just to be is actually the solution. We are disinclined to trust that the gift of ourselves is enough, and that this insecurity leads us so often in the presence of tragedy to try to rescue others from their suffering. We foolishly think we must offer up concrete technical advice, theological nuggets, or philosophical chestnuts, all sorts of unnecessary verbiage and unhelpful fussing that gets in the way of the simple human caring that really needs to occur. Can someone tell me why so many ministers and others feel it necessary in the presence of death, suffering, and tragedy to open their mouth and spill forth neatly packaged one-liners that are supposed to comfort those afflicted? If there is one thing I wish to disabuse you of more than any other this morning, it is the American idiocy that in time of crisis, what people want are bumper sticker slogans to make them feel better. Last week, after the heinous murder of 2 little children in Plainfield, the minister who conducted their funeral actually had the temerity, or is it just plain spiritual stupidity, to suggest to the grieving family that God had allowed these murders to save these children from some horrible disease later in life. In the face of the awesome and often confounding mysteries of birth and death, life and suffering, we are best to hold our tongues when in doubt of what to say that might comfort. Why can't we trust the value of caring silence shared with those who are hurting? Believe me, when someone you love is swept up into tragedy, your faithful presence speaks with an eloquence no words can possess. The mere fact of your staying in the garden with their pain, with them, says that your concern and love are deep and real. Your refusal to disappear says to the suffering, as nothing else can, that their creation remains a place of love, grace, and hope. Without uttering one word, we can help the ones who hurt to know that their world continues, in a cosmological sense, to be a grace-filled and nurturing place. It lets them know, if I may wax theological for just a moment, that the Holy Spirit of life is alive and well and able to touch them. So rather than speak with your lips, speak with your presence. Let your eyes, your hands, your silence, your faithfulness tell the story. These are enduring answers to suffering and pain, which remain to bless long after the hollow ring of bumper sticker slogans have faded into oblivion where they belong. Why is it, dear friends, that we Americans have such a dreadfully difficult time understanding that hurting human beings are not asking us to be gods, saviors, magicians, physicians, and wizards? When will we begin to believe that the only credential we need to be humanely with those who are suffering or dying is the credential of an open and gentle heart? Many of you have shared with me in private conversations that sometimes when someone you know is hurting, you have found yourself staying away simply because of the discomfort of not knowing precisely what to say or do. Well, I will tell you now what I always say in such a situation. For God's sakes, don't say anything or do anything at first. Just go. Simply get up and go. You may say the wrong thing. It's easy to put your foot in your mouth when someone is suffering or dying, but you must nonetheless trust that grace and holiness and power of your simple human presence and touch. It's more transforming and healing than you can ever imagine. Why do we human beings have such terrible theological self-esteem? Why are we in the habit of doubting that the highest power in the universe speaks so well through our fundamental humanness? There is an old Eastern legend that tells it well. The gods became jealous of humanity, and they were fearful that the gift of divinity would be stolen by them. So they had a council. And some said, "Let us place our gift in the skies." Others said, "No, they will search the skies. They will even fly." And others said, "Let us put our gift of divinity in the depth of the ocean." And the reply was, "No, they will plumb the depths of the ocean." Someday they will be on the floor of the seas and they will find the gift. And the wisest of the gods said, let us hide divinity within them. That is the last place they'll look. Yes, dear friends, the last place we look for the gift of divinity, the last place we look for the highest and most healing powers of the creation is within ourselves, within our ordinary human hearts beating in simple compassion, gentleness, and love. Why can't we believe within us lies some of the most precious powers of creation, powers capable of blessing, healing, even saving other persons? Why do we think we need something more, something else? The process theologians say God is a verb, a dynamic process that happens whenever we simply love and care for one another. As Jewish theologian Martin Buber spoke of the I-thou encounter, that human meeting when the truly divine powers of the creation come to life along with the mysterious, and it is a mysterious arc of significant caring person-to-person encounter. What I believe, because I have seen it time and time again, is that God, whatever we mean by that lovely, simple word, steals upon gentle feet whenever we are brave and loving enough to keep the night watch in someone else's midnight of pain. The highest and holiest beauty of the universe comes into being when we simply stay awake for each other. Let me tell you of a recent experience I had which reminded me with a lovely clarity that all this is so. I was invited by a family of this church to the nursing home bedside of a man they love, a husband and father whose life was rapidly slipping away beneath the bone-crushing boot of Alzheimer's disease. As his wife said to me later on the phone, Scott, I feel like I'm losing my best friend, and it is so hard. On the day I went to the convalescent center with the man's wife and son, we were unable to rouse this once brilliant scientist from his partial coma. No verbal or cognitive relationship was possible. And so his wife, without as much of a conscious thought, I am sure, expressed her love and devotion the only way she could. She reached over to the bedstand drawer, took out his battered old hairbrush, and began stroking gently his gray and matted hair. As she did her loving work, I found myself wanting to look away, not because it was sad or unpleasant or depressing, not because I am afraid to see people die or suffer. I wanted to look away because I was embarrassed to share in so intimate and so perfect a moment of love. Had it not been for the professional defenses I have long ago since erected to protect me from such pure and holy moments, I would have wept merely at witnessing the beauty and fidelity of her love. I guess I felt what surgeon Richard Seltzer wrote in his book, Mortal Lessons, after he witnessed a similar moment of human devotion. I lowered my gaze, the doctor writes. One is not bold in an encounter with God. I remember that the gods appeared in ancient Greece as mortals, and I hold my breath and let the wonder in. I like the way my friend and colleague Edward Frost of Princeton puts it. We have heard that God is all the goodness, all the sweetness, and the light and joy in the morning. But God is the cries we don't hear, the depth of hell the other suffers, the darkness and confusion of permanent night. God may be the chaos missed in our neatness and order, who shuns the glistening temple to walk the gray repositories of twisted and divided souls. To seek such a God is to seek discomfort, to walk in another's broken shoes through the eyes of an inner storm and be bent and broken with him. God is the one who cries, "Know me," through the mouths of those we choose not to know. We have heard that God is love, but God is the demand to love, a demand unheeded, thus a God undiscovered. Press through the grown-over path to another's loneliness, and there with him, The pain and bearer of pain is God. May Sarton says it a little differently in her poem about her own mother's death, entitled A Hard Death. Listen. God's grace, given freely, we do not deserve, but we can choose at least to see its ghost on every face. Oh, we can wish to serve each other gently as we live, though lost. We cannot be saved, but we can stand before each presence with gentle heart and hand. Here in this place, in this time without grief, never accept a death or life as strange to its essence. But at each second, be aware how God is moving always through each flower, from birth to death, in a multiple gesture of abnegation. And when the petals fall, say it is beautiful and good. Say it is well. For let us be gentle to each other in their brief time, for we shall die in exile, far from home, where even the flowers can no longer save. Only the living can be healed by love. Yes, Sarton has it right. Only the living can be healed by love. Only when we are brave and beautiful enough to stand by one another in simple human compassion and faithfulness are we saved from life's negation and despair. Now, please, let there be no disillusion about what I am suggesting to you this morning. I believe passionately that the simple gift of ourselves is the greatest gift that can be given to someone else in pain. And I further believe that in such encounters, some of life's deepest holiness and meaning reveals itself. But I am not saying these encounters will ever be easy, comfortable, pleasant, or fun. Even when we are freely and nobly giving of ourselves, it still hurts to see others in bondage and pain. And when we still often feel so helpless, so angry, so inadequate, so alone. What's more, we will always have to choke back the natural human fear that rises in the throat whenever we draw close to pain, death, and the vivid reminders of our own mortality. We will always have to fight the temptation to flee. I am sure that even those exceptionally brave individuals in our congregation who are voluntarily giving so much time to hospice programs in our area, even though they seek out this tough human work, must have their moments of extreme discomfort and fear. No one should ever suggest that to attend someone in their Gethsemane of pain is fashionable or fun. It's always tough to stay awake through the long night of someone else's sorrow and pain is the most difficult of all human wakings. But I believe Norman Cousins is right on target when he says, death is not the enemy. Living in constant fear of it is. The way we choose to live and the depth of our feelings, our ability to love and be loved, and to take in all the colors of the world around us, these determine the worth and true extent of whatever time we have. The clock keeps ticking away. Our job is to put as much meaning as possible into the intervals between the ticks. A minute can open out into a vast realm in which all our senses, finely attuned, can come into full and splendid play, or those same senses can be shut down, imparting nothing to our years except numbers. Yes, dear friends, if our years are to be something more than numbers, we must control our fear of suffering, disease, and death, and not be afraid when these realities draw near, to offer others the simple gift of ourselves. I know many of you find this hard to believe, for ours is a technocratic, death-fearing culture, which always seeks the quick fix for suffering. But you are the answer by God. Your presence is what saves and redeems. We do not yet trust the power and beauty and worth of our faithful presence with people in pain. We still look for the slick answers, the miraculous solutions, the technological salvations. Every once in a while, one of these miracles occurs. But in the meantime, we fragile, fearful folks are the only saviors sent. More than 3,000 years ago, the psalmist cried out for each man and woman to be a candle of the Lord shining in the uttermost dark. I believe this is as theologically sound as anything ever written. I pray this morning that you will both trust and use that high and holy light which glimmers in unquenchable brightness and power within you. Please don't doubt the healing warmth of your expansively warm heart. When someone you know is hurting, be there. Just be there. Give them the gift of staying awake through the long night in the garden. Stand the faithful night watch. Keep the everyday light and love flowing from your hands and heart, for your precious human presence is holy. It is enough, and by God, it will see us through.
The morning offering will now be given and received. Please remember we are a self-sustaining congregation and provide all financial resources for our many ministries. And we recognize the spiritual value of generosity and invite you to participate. If you are viewing this service remotely, please use one of the methods shown on the screen. Thank you. Our thanks for all the gifts given and received for the work of this community. Please stand in body or spirit and sing the closing hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, number 1008.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. When we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. When we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place.
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, let us recite the valediction. The flame of this chalice will no longer burn today, but the light of the flame within our hearts continues to shine brightly, illuminating the love felt in our community. Please extinguish your chalices at home now. Now let us form a circle and join hands. Rebecca.
We must talk about our departed loved ones because they live on through us. We are the memory keepers. It is up to us to share their story and carry on their legacy. It reminds us that they were real, that they mattered, and that they will not be forgotten. Thank you.
That was beautiful.